Hey guys, welcome back to the Girlfriends and Goals podcast. My name is Samaria and I'm joined by my best friend and co-host.
Miosha.
And today we're reviewing Married at First Sight, season 18, episode 9.
Mm-hmm.
And before we get into that, please make sure that you subscribe to our channel, give this video a thumbs up, and meet us down in the comments to let us know what you thought about this episode. Miosha and I were talking about how we think this is a good season.
Very eventful.
Yeah, we haven't had a good season of MAFS in how many years?
What it could be, Denver was so bad. I think our standards were low. So
Yeah. Yeah, it's like when you're really hungry, everything tastes good.
listen, we're starved.
Yeah. Okay, so we're gonna start with Carla and Juan.
Which it opens up with him on this 30-mile bike ride without his wife that apparently he has time for.
No, because remember, that's one of the things that keeps him busy because he has work and then he has workouts and he's just so busy with those things. So he goes biking and then he comes back in and he's talking about how Carla sleeps all day because it was 1 p.m. And I want to know, was it a Saturday? Was it on the weekend? Because if she's trying to rest during the weekend, I don't think that's an issue.
And she does hair. She's the sound bowl healer. She has a non-traditional work schedule. So I don't know. Just because you want to be out bike riding all over Chicago, I mean, I don't know. I didn't see it as a bad thing that she was sleeping in and resting, even if it was during the week. If she does hair, a lot of times it could be later in the evenings when people get off work, if it is during the week. So I didn't have an issue
Yeah.
with it.
I didn't have an issue with it either. Okay, so Carla, I guess, took him out to lunch or something like that, and she brought up the family dynamic, which, I mean, y'all know I really like Carla, and I think this was her attempt at getting him to see why certain things are so important to her. I think it still fell flat. Like, I think he's just not her person, no matter how much she communicates what she needs. But I respect just the maturity that it takes to say, hey, maybe if I put it to you this other way. Like, when you're talking to a partner, it might not be hitting the way you think it's hitting. You have to find another way to speak their language. So I think that's what she was attempting.
I think she's putting in the effort to push them to go deeper. So I'm not just asking for cuddles and kisses just because it's a thing to do. I really want you to understand my background and what's pushing me to ask for those things. And I think a lot of people, unfortunately, can relate to Carla and maybe being in a household where communication wasn't the way that it needed to be, or maybe there was not as much affection, and then
Yeah.
transitioning into adulthood, gaining new experiences, and how it kind of opens up your eyes to what's possible and how, like, oh, it feels good to embrace people and go deeper than what's on the surface. But his facial expressions just gave me that he's checked out, and that he's not really interested in getting to know her. So
Yeah, and he said something about how he's working towards that, but I wanted specific examples. Like, tell me how you feel you're working towards being more affectionate to me, because
and his follow-up was, oh yeah, I hear you, but don't take it personal. You just have to be patient. Her facial expression said it all as well. So
yeah. So that was that. So later on, I guess they were meeting with Dr. Pia.
they met with
Yeah.
Dr. Pia.
Can we talk about Dr. Pia? Because I think she is killing it in this job. Let
She
us know in the
is.
comments if you agree or if you have another person. I think she is earning her check every season.
I agree. She definitely is killing it. She's not afraid to keep it real. I will say there are some areas where I have a few critiques, but overall, considering what we're used to, I think she's definitely stepped it up in terms of the experts.
Yeah. Okay. So Carla talks about how she hasn't introduced Juan to her parents, which of course he's okay with that because he's not interested in her. He's like, listen, one less hurdle I have to jump through, one less group of people I have to pretend with. during this like 8 week
Right.
marriage, and we'll be done. So
Yeah. Yeah,
I
exactly.
don't mind it. Do you mind it? Do you feel like, oh, if you're in this process, you have to introduce your parents and that should be it?
I don't think so, especially once you come back from the honeymoon and you have a week or so under your belt after you've moved in. Based off the vibes that giving, I would not introduce him as well. Now, if things were moving well and he at least was trying, like, oh, you want affection, I'll at least put forth some effort, then yes, maybe we can set up a date maybe halfway through the process. But he's giving her nothing. And so I don't blame her. Her parents weren't at the wedding. They already really weren't here for this process. And early on, she described how, she wouldn't bring people to her father unless it was serious. So she's been singing the same song the whole time. And
Hmm.
it's less pressure on him. He doesn't want to have to act anyways. So
Even though he's an actor or was a model, I should,
model,
yeah.
yeah.
Okay. All right. So Dr. Pia asks them, does this feel like marriage to you? And Juan says, I mean, we're in it.
I mean, I don't know what marriage is supposed to feel like. I've never been married. Okay.
Come on. So yeah, and then Carla elaborates. She says that it's not romantic. So he starts talking about how he doesn't feel like there is a physical attraction. Like obviously Carla is beautiful, but he doesn't feel it. And Carla just responds the way that she should. I think she's handling it well. She said if physical attraction isn't there, it doesn't need to be forced. Like you can just say that, and that's an answer. Because it seems like maybe he has felt like, oh, if I say this to her, she won't receive it well, or it might hurt her feelings. So I like that she just said, let the record show. If you're not attracted to me, you're just not attracted to me. It's not a big deal.
Yeah, I was watching some other reviews from last week and I saw where people were trying to pinpoint where do they think he checked out or was it automatic when he saw her that
Hmm.
he just knew? And I have a theory that I think on the wedding, even going into the honeymoon, I got the vibe that he was open to her and that he was attracted to her.
Hmm.
I think once he got the sense that Carla wasn't going to be a workhorse and jump into cater to him and bring all this extra value, like Carla would be looking for equity. And I think once he peeped that, I think he checked out. It's just a theory of mine. And yeah, he
Interesting.
could not be attracted to her. I don't know, but from a physical standpoint, but I do think that he was open at first. And the more he got the vibe of, oh, Carla's deep, she's not going to just let me give her breadcrumbs in this relationship. I don't think he was interested.
You know what's funny? Because the next thing that they do is have a conversation about her career. Did we know that she was a hairstylist? Did she say that in the beginning? I remember the sound bath healer.
Yoga instructor and hairstylist.
Okay, I don't know that I fully remembered hairstylist, but I think this was the most interest I've seen Juan show in her was when she
Hmm.
was talking about her ambition, and I think it's admirable. Like Carla said she didn't try in high school. She knew from a young age, I want to be a hairstylist. And
Hmm.
when she graduated in June, in July, she was in hair school. So I think that shows like she knew what her talents were. She knew where
Hmm.
her gifts were leading. And she was committed to that and was a go getter and got what she needed to get. So I think her ambition and her wanting to do the business thing, I think that's the most interest I've seen him show in her. And again, it's because of work.
Hmm. What can how can you elevate us as a couple? I think through the work that you do, either helping me with my business, even his dad, the first thing he asked, well, what do you do? How are you going to help Juan? I think he's given the vibe that he's very much about himself
Yeah.
and maybe what he has to gain by you being in his life.
Or I don't even know if it's just what he has to gain. Like seeing him light up in this conversation, it almost was like it gave him an opportunity to be the expert. You want to be an entrepreneur. I'm an entrepreneur, so
I
I
can
can
help
coach
you.
you, I can show you, I can. And so I wonder if he can see himself as a partner, or if he just sees himself as someone like a coach. You know, those
Mm.
people who say you're a personal trainer and your significant other needs to be in the gym and you're just so motivated to get them to do the things. That's how I saw him after this conversation.
Yeah, I could see that. I can definitely see that. Um, but yeah, Carla in that conversation though did say that she wants him to assist with them making plans as a unit as far as them trying to move
Mm-hmm.
forward.
Mm-hmm.
And I still didn't get that he was interested. Yeah.
You know what's interesting is that Carla, I don't know, maybe Juan looks down on Carla and the things that she does. But when you listen to the trajectory of their lives, Juan was lucky. He stumbled into a lot of the things that he got
Mm-hmm.
into, right? But
Mm-hmm.
Carla, at a young age, what, 17 or 18 when you
Mm-hmm.
graduate college? I mean, graduate high school, she was always like driven, you know, had the thing that
Mm-hmm.
she wanted to do and work towards it. And so I almost wish he could see the ways that he could benefit from her being
Mm-hmm.
there, because it seems like he views himself as such an asset. And I don't know that he's taken the time to see her as the asset she is.
I don't think so. And then they have another scene later at the apartment. They're talking over this chicken and peppers dinner. And one thing I noticed about Carla, especially in this scene, but I noted it made me think about the previous scenes they had together throughout the episode,
Hmm.
was Carla seems to be there, but not there. Do
Yeah.
you get that vibe from her? Like she's there, but the way she's talking and looking is like, okay, Earth back to Carla, and not in a bad way. Maybe
Hmm.
she's just giving, maybe she's responding to the energy he's giving, which is not much. So,
I feel like that's what it is. I feel like she's doing what she needs to do for the cameras. And then yeah, I feel like they're just recording scenes together. But it seems to me like she has been checked, even at the housewarming. It seems to me like she is checked out because maybe she's
mhm.
observing that this isn't it.
The light and positivity and good energy we saw with Carla at the wedding is gone
You you think it's? I think it's still there.
towards him.
I
Like the
think
optimism she had,
okay.
I don't see it anymore
Because what is the
in her
point of being
eyes.
optimistic when you already know?
Yeah, it's gone. Yeah.
Gone. Okay, so we want to move on to Alan and
Alan
Madison.
Madison, yeah, let's do them.
All right. So Alan and Madison.
Hmm.
Oh, I gotta scroll. I have a lot of notes. These episodes have been interesting. They've been keeping me locked in. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah.
Okay. So Madison comes back from flag football.
Mm-hmm.
To be as upset as she was, I thought she handled this very well. So what we saw at flag football, with her being like so ticked off, like I'm really upset that he's not coming. I think she handled it really well, the way that she presented it to him. You clearly don't believe that.
And there's a reason why. Because
Okay.
she knew, like, keep in mind, she has all the information of what happened the night before. The people at flag football don't. So I personally think she was putting on at the fact of how disappointed she was that at the fact that he wasn't there. I think going back to the apartment, her energy was more subdued about being upset because she knows, like I know, that she left that bar without him.
Well, she didn't leave the bar without him. She went to the bathroom and he
I
left the
don't
bar
believe
without
it.
her.
I don't
Because
believe
she
it.
came out and he wasn't there. They both agreed to that. Like when she came,
I,
he wasn't there.
for me, that story, okay, one, you wouldn't tell your partner, hey, I'm going to run to the restroom. You're gone for the restroom for so long that he's like, hey, where's so and so? Where's so and so? Oh, we think she left. Y'all are in a group of people, right? You're in the restroom for that long?
So she was on the after party. I don't want
I don't
to like
know.
rush ahead, but I felt like even knowing all of the facts, I think what he did or his refusal to come to flag football after was something that she planned. I completely understood her anger at that. And I think that she could have come back full force energy, but instead she came and asked how he was feeling and then sat down and said, well, I was really disappointed that you weren't there. I think
I
it could
think
have
him
easily
retaliating
escalated.
in that way was childish. I agree.
Mm-hmm.
I think he should have had a conversation with her that morning and said, hey, we weren't together. You left. There was no text call, anything. Also, while you're there, you're acting as if I'm not there.
Yes.
And so I think it's a combination of things, and not to excuse what he did, because I think he should be an adult and talk about it.
Yeah.
But because she's not into him, I just I just wasn't buying that she felt a way really about him not being at flag football.
Wow, that's
And
so
and
funny.
and this is on top of what she did earlier about not coming home
Weeks ago.
a week ago. Not that
Well,
much
they're at
time has
like the
passed.
halfway point now, so that would have been like 7 days into the marriage.
Okay. I don't know. I think it's building, and so I think he's getting to a point where he's frustrated that okay, we're out with friends and you're also not into like you're doing your thing, I'm doing my thing.
So I think I definitely get what you're saying to an extent. Like he felt like, hey, we're not hanging out. Like, we're out with everybody, and you're you're spending time with and paying attention to your friends and not me. And then you disappeared without saying anything, which I absolutely think she should have just said, hey, I'm going to the bathroom. But she was on the after party. And here's what she said. She said, they were out, and Alan is more, when he's drinking, he's more like loud, or he's louder. Let me use my words. So he's louder, and he's more obnoxious. Like he's not as careful with what he's saying to people. And so she told her friend, hey, I just need to get away for a little bit. And that's when she went to the bathroom. And so it seems like she was in the bathroom venting to her friend. And then he's like, well, I don't see her. He thinks she leaves, which I would feel the way he felt. Like if I thought that you left and didn't say anything to me, I would probably feel a way too. So he
Because
leaves,
it's
and then
also
she
coupled with you being standoffish.
ignoring him, yeah,
Yeah.
being distant the whole night. I understood how he felt completely. But then she comes out and he's not there, and that whole ordeal. So on the after party, she said when they talked through things, it was like we both could have sent each other text messages. I could have sent him a text saying, hey, I'm in the bathroom, or I'm heading to the bathroom, or I could have said it. And she said that if they were out with just the two of them, that's something she would have done. But either way, she felt like well, mostly because of safety, like he needs to know where she's going. But she felt like it was wrong of her not to text him. And then he apparently agreed that he also could have sent her a text to
Yeah.
be like, hey, I'm heading out. Did you leave? Because if you did, I'm about to head out. But I don't want to read too much into this, because I think it's poor communication and human reaction. Like if he's feeling rejected, even though he should move past the rejection and be like, hey, did you leave? Like, this is your wife. Make sure she's safe. I understand sometimes you're in your feelings and you just don't do that. So,
And I also think too, because of the lack of attraction on her part, I think that's also in his mind as well. Like, I don't want to chase after this girl. She already said she don't like what she see. She's let it be known earlier that night to his friends at the little birthday party. I'm pretty sure they had a follow up conversation like, oh, well, how'd it go? I know he circled with his friends on it, and you're acting standoffish, and then you disappear. So I do
yeah.
think I agree. I think he should have handled it better, but I also think he got frustrated.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
think they both should have handled it better. And I know you disagree, but I do think she was pissed about the flag football, just because we see her in the morning being like, hey, we have to go. Come on. Like, she clearly wanted him to come, and it never feels good being the only one with all the couples there with their person. You're sitting there without yours. Like, that's embarrassing. So I do think she felt a way about that. But that's just me.
Okay.
Okay. So anyway, they agreed. Hey, obviously it wasn't the right environment to hash out what was going on in public, like him. Oh, let me delete my notes. Him feeling like, she wasn't paying attention to him, and then he kind of retaliated with the flag football, which not a good sign. Retaliation. But I thought it was a really good and mature conversation, and I appreciate this season so far because we are seeing a lot of that for the most part. The exception is Mr. I'm here to be fixed. But yeah. Anyway,
Yeah. I think then they sit down with Dr. Pia at the apartment.
well, no, they had dinner. The reason why I want to
Oh,
point this out is because they had dinner and then they sat down to watch a movie, which is something that Alan had been wanting to do. And so I was like happy that Alan was getting something that he wanted out of the relationship. So that's all. But yeah, Dr.
yeah.
Pia.
But yeah, so they sit down with Dr. Pia, talk about the lack of romance. Madison says that they basically talk through the situation that happened at the bar. We don't have to rehash that. But Madison says basically that her behaving in a single way is one because she's been single for a while, but then she also calls out how other partners have complained about this behavior with her in the past. And so I wonder if it's a combination of both, and then what adds to it is maybe the lack of attraction that she has to Alan. But she said other people have complained about it.
And Dr. Pia caught on to that. She said, am I hearing that you're used to work and friends and family over
Yeah.
prioritizing work, friends, and family over your partner? I said, clock it, Dr. Pia, because we need to stay
So,
there for a second.
so it's not just an Alan thing. And so I wrote, okay, Madison, you say you desire marriage and to be partnered, but you have a pattern of behavior of even when you're in a relationship, you don't act partnered.
Yeah. Which
So,
I also get, like, kind of you're in your own world and you have to be intentional about showing up for your partner. Like, for some people who are like, their lives revolve around family and friends and stuff like that, maybe you just don't always have the capacity to include a partner. But if you're saying you want partnership, then that is something that you're going to have to learn how to do, because you can't be out here making people feel neglected.
if that's what you want, you'll make the change. Because I think even if you find your what you would deem as your perfect partner, say Alan had the body she desired, that issue sounds like it would still be there. So,
And I love the question of what can we do to prioritize Alan, because then it helps us to know, like, what do you need to see in this relationship so that you can put him first. And then she said something about compliments, which he gave her a compliment last week at the housewarming. Remember, he said like her dress looked nice, but she said that's not the type of compliment that she wanted to hear. And so Dr. Pia, doing her job, was like, what types of compliment, like, be specific. Be specific and let us know like what types of compliments you would like to hear so that he knows what to do.
and I liked how Dr. Pia guided them down that path of, okay, what do you need to move forward? I will say, I think she said she wanted to be told, oh, you're beautiful. So be more expressive about the compliments. The other side is, if you're in a dynamic where you've made it obvious and you've said several times that you're not attracted to this person, you don't like what you see, mm, I
They don't want to
get
come on too
wanting
strong.
I get wanting compliments, but it feels imbalanced. You want to be praised and uplifted for how you look and how you carry yourself and all these things, but then you're not liking what you see. So I don't know. For me, it's a bit of an imbalance there. And I'm not saying that she shouldn't want to be complimented. I just think that given how much she's talked about how he looks, how he dresses, he's not her type, but then expecting this man to turn around and talk about how beautiful you are,
Hmm.
I
Yeah,
I don't really think that that's fair.
I get it. I get it. At the same time, they're all putting their wants out on the table, so she's
Yeah.
well within her rights to say, "This is what I
Tell
want."
me I'm beautiful, you not.
And if that were a problem for Alan, I think he could rightfully speak up and say, I don't feel comfortable complimenting you because there's so much rejection here. So I
Yeah.
think if he's okay with it, he's okay with it. But I completely get what you're saying. Like, you're talking down on how I look. And like, once someone feels rejected so many times, it is hard for them to crawl their way out of rejection to then make you feel good about yourself. And so, yeah, that is something that she needs to take into account. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
So anyway, I do also, just to echo, did like Dr. Pia's like route that she took, because they could have gone through the whole, well, you don't compliment me. Yes, I do. I compliment you all the time. This time I complimented you. Last time I complimented you. Remember, I said this, that, and you, like, they could have gone down that for a long time. And I think her questions really helped to nip it in the bud. Um, I I do appreciate Madison taking accountability in certain situations. So when when he said the whole, I didn't know compliments would be well received, like, I don't mind giving them, I didn't know it would be well received, she said something like, then you should ask, but then she caught herself and was like, and I should tell, like, because he might not even know it's something that he can ask based on the dynamics that you've set up, really, because you're
Mm-hmm.
the one who is kind of in the power position, since you're the one who's not attracted to him. And so, yeah, you should tell him. You should guide him, because he can't know without
And
that.
from what we've seen, other people on the show who are paired with someone who um, maybe doesn't like them,
Hmm.
they're getting triggered by the person being nice and complimenting them. So it's crazy to say, but the more nice David is, the more it bothers Michelle. Like,
Yeah. I don't blame
so
Alan for treading lightly. Like, you're going to have to give me permission on what can and can't be done at this point, because I don't want to come on too strong. You already have a distaste towards me, even though Madison is, I think, genuinely nice. Honestly, like, I don't think she's trying to be mean to Alan. I think she really is trying with the process, and it's just difficult because she doesn't feel that attraction. But it is up to her. Like, you have to let this man know what he can or can't do, because you created this dynamic. So Dr. Pia gives them a game to play, and then they played the game.
mm-hmm.
It was cute to hear the answers to some of their questions. Like, she says she likes being married to him because he listens to her and he follows through.
Mm-hmm.
And then he calls her hot. He calls her hot, but then he also says, like, he appreciates her trying to make things work, which for me at least confirms what I think I see on the screen. But it seems like behind the scenes, she's also trying to make things work with him, despite not having that initial pull.
Yep.
That's
That's
all I
all I
have on
have.
them.
Yeah, I
Are
don't
we
have
good?
anything else. Yeah.
Do we want to do David and Michelle next? Or
Mm-hmm.
okay. Golly. All right. So David is going to get his brows done with Michelle, which he is a very brave man to go to an eyebrow person whose work he's never really seen. I guess he's seen it on Michelle, but I wouldn't let anybody near my nice thick eyebrows just to impress a
Mm-mm.
wife. And he keeps talking about, maybe I can get some more insight and advice. You don't need no other insight. You don't need any other advice.
You've seen all that you needed to see, and in fact, I feel like this at this point going forward, whatever you're going to be told is wrong. He asked a friend, "Oh, what should I know about Michelle? She's always positive. She's a breath of fresh air." Where?
To whom?
maybe, but then she kind of started to contradict herself the more she kept talking later in the conversation. Well, oh, you're going to have to pull it out of her. And, she could be a little,
Yeah, she said like I might see that, but I will say the reaction that Michelle gave, which at least she knows herself,
hmm
because she was the one. Sorry, can I just say, David, in response to the whole positive thing, he never said anything negative about Michelle. He never was like, "Oh no, she's actually been like the Grinch who stole Married at First
hmm
Sight," or she's like, he never harped on the negative. It was out there. It was said. Michelle scoffed or did whatever she did, but instead of harping on the negative, he pivoted and said, "Well, I mean, I can tell why you see her that way because I can see how she's relaxed in this environment. She's in
hmm
her element." So he never harps on the negative with her, which is
mm
what irritates me all the more when she harps on the negative with him.
And I think that's why I'm jumping ahead when we get to the bowling scene, why he's kind of getting amped up because it's not even just that he's being rejected. I think it's that he's trying to handle it with so much grace.
Grace.
And he's well, like, dang, I can't even get that in return. And we're starting to see him blow.
Yes, but I did say the friend, the brow lady, she's the reason why you can't trust people when they say, "Oh, I got a friend, you gonna love her. She's great, she's nice, she's generous, she this." This is why you can't trust people when they try to hook you up with their friends, because the friend that they are to you is not the partner that they're showing up as in these relationships. And we
They're
have great
not.
evidence of it with this brow lady.
Yeah. And I didn't really see what was done with the brows, but yeah,
Either one of them, right? Like,
no.
it looked
Did
very
she
much the
wax
same.
tweeze?
Yeah, but her advice was that they should go out and try to do other things, just do activities together, which is what David has been trying to do. Which I said David seems to have a fun life. He said he's in a dart
hmm
league, he does
Bowling.
bowling and a softball league. I'm like, oh, he's active. Like this seems like fun. I'm a homebody, but even that intrigues me. I'm like, I would do darts. I would do softball. I might not be good.
And it also just goes to show she keeps talking about lifestyle, lifestyle. Her idea of having fun, I think, is different than his idea of getting out and having fun. All she talked about was trying new restaurants and maybe going to concerts, which are fun things.
Hmm.
But I think their ideas of how they spend their spare time is very different. Maybe hers
Yeah.
is going out shopping and, trying a different cocktail bar. I don't know.
Her fun time is fun time with her friends, which
Yeah.
I'm all for it, but you understand your partner ain't gonna be one of your little friends. Like they are a
hmm
friend to you, but they might not want to. Like there are certain shows that you might want to binge them, but they don't want to binge it. Like they're not interested in these shows or these activities.
And like how she gave the example of like, oh, going to try new restaurants. Like, not everybody likes to eat out like that. Some people are like, oh, I'd rather spend that $100 on my softball league or doing
Yeah.
something else. Not everybody wants to spend $300 on a concert ticket. So,
Yeah. Especially fitness people. Like
yeah,
they cook and eat a lot of their stuff at home. Like they have a certain number of what is it, macros?
yeah, they're macronutrients. Yeah,
Yeah, you can tell what type of person I am. Not measuring
yeah,
macros or micro. Are there micros as well?
macro and micronutrients. I
Yeah.
think.
Okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that might be why David eats the same thing all the time because he knows that he can hit his numbers with these meals.
Oh yeah, he's definitely that person that's like weighing out their protein, because in order
For
to get
sure.
big like that, you can't just wing it. You have to be eating a certain amount.
Intentional,
So,
which is another admirable quality.
yeah, but it don't matter.
Intentionality. It doesn't. Okay, so finally we see Michelle do a David activity.
The
First
bowling.
time this season. So she comes bowling with David, and it hurt me to hear him say that he felt like a punching bag.
Well, first, when she introduces him to her friend at the Brow Studio, this is David. Him at
Yeah.
the bowling alley, this is my
Mhm.
wife, Michelle.
Mhm.
Come on. It's
She said, I ain't claiming that man.
You're on international television. We know this man as your husband. You cannot say it. But girl, you got married at first sight.
It's still true. We got the paperwork to show it. You signed documents, ma'am. Um, so his friend said, honestly, I'm surprised you're not head over heels.
He's
I
a
love
great
his
guy.
friends. They're gonna show up for my boy, and that's what he needs. He needs people to show up. But the second that they're asking her, "Oh, how things are going," she starts this laundry list of, "Yeah, he swears a lot. Like he was swearing in front of my mom, and she said something to me about it." Which I don't know if that was David's first time hearing that. I think it was our first time hearing that as
It was
viewers.
our first time. I wouldn't be
Yeah,
surprised if it was his first time too. I know
me neither.
she's called out the cursing, but I wouldn't be
Not to
surprised if it
him.
was his first time because they don't talk. So
They don't know each other, yeah. And so the friend said, "Well, we could." No, was it David who said I could snap a finger and live somewhere else, but that wouldn't
mhm,
change anything? And so I think he's starting to see what we've all seen since like week one or since
mhm,
wedding night. There's nothing you can do, bruh. Hang it up.
mhm.
Don't call her your wife. Don't try to spend time with her. Just exist. He was also on the after party for a little bit.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So Michelle decides to have a one on one with Dr. Pia.
Yes. I was trying to see, was there one more thing? Something
About
I
the
like
bowling.
that the friend said while they were bowling, you pick the important things and then work on those things. And I'm not saying that David is her person, but no matter who she meets, you're going to have to prioritize. It can't just be everything needs to change. You work on those things. There's always going to be something. So I think the friends gave good advice. It's just it fell flat because he's not her
Yeah,
person. So
his friends are solid though. I like to see what type of people men are surrounding
hmm
themselves by, and I think his friend group seems like pretty solid people. And so I
hmm
think that if Michelle were looking for admirable qualities, that would be one.
yeah.
All right, so to the Dr. Pia
Oh
meeting with Michelle
yeah.
then.
Oh yeah. So she sits down and she admits that it's David's lifestyle that reminds her of where she came from.
She finally said, "Oh my God." I was like, "Thank you." She finally said, "I feel like I'd be settling for what I don't want."
And
And then went
failure.
into detail. Huh?
In returning back would be being with him would be
Yes.
returning back and it would be failure. That's a big jump.
That's a big jump. I think, and we've said it, or people have said it jokingly about previous MAFS people, but I think Michelle needed therapy, not married at first sight.
Mm-mm.
Because I don't, I almost want to be like, how did you not know that this was an issue? But, I'm just glad that she knows it now and someone can tell
hmm
her or bring those things out of her. Like, you're so afraid of going back to a small town like that nobody's asking you to go back to, and this person doesn't even want for themselves. So,
hmm
what
And
exactly is the problem?
and it's almost as though she's making the assumption that she would lose some type of agency by being with him. Now, I understand, wanting to be with someone who's financially responsible because it could have ramifications
Whether
on
they
your
make
situation.
money or not.
Right. So,
Yeah.
but I think nothing about him has presented that he wouldn't be open to making adjustments to try to meet her stride.
Yes.
But I don't know. It also made me think like, man, does she just have anxiety in general about going back? Like David aside, what if I
Yeah.
get laid off? What if this happens or that happens? Like, is she walking around with this weight of this? If it all could fail and that could be my life, which some people have to start over. Like,
It happens.
sometimes it's
Very
within your
happens.
control, sometimes not. But I feel as though she walks around with this anxiety of, well, what if I don't have the life that I have now? And I don't know, I kind of feel bad for her in that I think a lot of her sense of happiness and joy is this sense of maybe security and the lifestyle that she has and not just I don't know, being alive and healthy and well and just all the other things. And I don't want to sound as though those things aren't important. We all like
They
nice
are.
things, but I think hers is to the extreme of being paranoid about, but what if? I don't
No,
know.
absolutely. And I think when Dr. Pia said, "Can you see that the fear isn't fact?" That resonated because you're creating scenarios that aren't even real. And we haven't talked about David's finances, which I wish that at some
Hmm.
point someone would say, hey, he has enough money to take care of himself. I don't know that to be true, but I think that would have been nice to hear. But you don't know that he's in such a dire situation that he's gonna be a liability to you.
Hmm.
Like when she said, I want to enjoy nice things, and Dr. Pia asked, well, who's asking you not to enjoy them? Like, who's asking you not to have your nice things? Even
Yeah.
you can tell that she, of course, thinks she's better because she said, oh, when I moved here and I was trying to make ends meet, I was in my 20s. So it's better because I was younger. And I get it. Like, I completely understand at a certain age, you want to have more stability and more security. But one, you comparing where you were in your 20s to David, who's in his 30s, bought a condo or bought a bar, renovated it, flipped it, whatever. Like, it's not based in fact. And maybe
Hmm.
if you would sit down and try to ask the questions like, hey, I need to make sure you're secure here with finances, or at least know what the situation is like before I'm comfortable with moving forward. Like for you to even have that conversation or try to have that conversation, you haven't done it. You've created what you think it is or what you feel like it must be, and you've taken your imagination as fact.
Yeah. And Dr. Pia calls out how she's focused on the superficial. And I think financial security is important, but I think
Yeah.
she's almost putting too much weight on it instead of those other qualities. I think it's
Yeah.
maybe finding the right balance. I don't know.
I think financial security is very important, especially for someone who has the anxieties that Michelle has. And maybe had she been forthcoming about those anxieties in
Mm.
the
Yeah, in the
process,
process. Yeah.
we wouldn't have been here.
Because
But
the way her interview tape went, it didn't sound like it.
she was trying to get hooked up. She was trying to get hooked up. But I also think she might be short sighted a little bit because when
Mm.
Dr. Pia was saying, "Hey, I'd be more on board if David wasn't open to being exposed," which I think we can talk about that a little bit because if she doesn't want to be the person exposing someone to things, she doesn't have to be.
Hmm.
If she wants to be the one she wants to marry up pretty much. She
Hmm.
wants to marry someone who she feels like can introduce her to not just new things because David can introduce her to new things,
Hmm.
but new things that she sees as like luxury.
Hmm. Hmm.
But
She should have said
Dr.
that.
Yeah. And Dr. Pio was like, there are other ways that he can provide. And I think she genuinely can't imagine other
Mm-mm.
ways that a partner can provide besides finances.
Mm-mm. And which is just kind of interesting because for her to be her age and as independent and successful as she is, I would imagine that many women get to their late 30s and was like, okay, well, I can do that. But like, what is your emotional maturity? What kind of family do you come from? Like, if you're at when you're able to provide for yourself, not that you don't ever see the value in someone providing for you, but it's almost like, well, that box is checked. You'd almost think that it would push you to really think outside of that because it's done, you're doing it.
Yes.
What
And
else
again,
is beneath the surface?
yeah, and again, I would be more on board with her if these were facts. Like if we verified he's financially irresponsible or he's not financially capable, if we verified that if we were to bring finances together, I would be losing something,
Mm-hmm.
then I'm
Yeah.
on board with you, Michelle. He ain't the one for you. Don't even try. But because it's not verified at this point, it's just assumption, I have an issue with that. I don't think there's anything wrong with wanting someone who you feel like makes as much money as you, or even more, but someone who, I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I think we see it all the time where people usually marry within their tax bracket, right? So nothing's wrong with that. It's just, you don't even know how much this person makes. You're just assuming, oh, they couldn't possibly make as much as I do.
And I think when it comes to marriage, especially if you intend to be together until you leave this earth, with all the greatest of intentions, life will ebb and flow. And so, even with all that said, I think a part of you has to be, your mind has to be open to life happening. And you decided to be in it thick or thin, richer for poorer.
Yes.
And even
that
if
is a
you
vow.
found that perfect match of, oh, financially, Jay, check that box. We're flying to the Maldives and doing this and that. It's not guaranteed to be that way throughout the duration of your life. So,
Illness happens,
yeah.
corporations blow up, like it's just not a guarantee. So you also, and I'm not saying you can't enjoy nice things, but there also has to be another foundation that's there beyond the finances.
And I think that's what Dr. Pia was trying to push
Convey.
her towards. David aside, when you go on until your next situation, well, what else is there? If you just want to find a man to take care of you or elevate your life, married at first sight
Was definitely
was
not the
not the
option.
place to be. So,
Yeah, absolutely.
yeah.
But that's the thing I like about this season and Dr. Pia's visits is that I feel like people are getting things that they can apply in future relationships, whether the ones they're in right now work or not. Like it's almost like they are getting like therapy,
Therapy,
which
yeah.
in previous seasons, when it was just Pastor Cal and just Dr. Pepper, it seemed like there was so much focus on, oh, we have to make this particular relationship work and not what are the tools that we can give you so that if you stay in this relationship, it works out. And if you leave this relationship, you're able to stand on your own 2 feet.
Yep.
Okay.
Do you want to talk about the meeting with Dr. Pia together?
I was so tickled by this. Listen, she said, I see where this is going. It's going to make me annoyed. Let's do the recap first so we can talk about it. But pretty much, Dr. Pia comes in and she's like, I know you've asked me questions about why were we paired up, so I thought it would be a good idea. And Dr. Pia gonna pull up receipts now. But I thought it would be a good idea to just show the things that you've asked of the other person.
What you were looking for?
What you were looking for. And when I tell you everything Michelle said was David, so she said he walks in the room, you notice him, someone who's friendly, someone who loves family, someone who's active, all the things that David is exactly.
What did she say? A little rugged, tattoo?
A little rough around has a sleeve, literally has a sleeve. And so
I didn't hear anything, and I'm not saying she didn't touch on finances, but I really do feel like Michelle put on that, oh yeah, like I want someone to be able to take care of themselves, but I'm not looking to come up in this process.
either she put on, or I think she was vapid enough to not, she had that blind spot where she didn't fully realize how important this was to her. And this experiment is like blowing up her spot.
Hence why she's so triggered, and just the mere fact of Dr. Pia bringing up the interviews bothers her. Oh, well, I know where this is going. Oh, you're going to be getting on to me.
I'm going to be annoyed. I can already tell I'm going to be annoyed. Why are you annoyed by the words that you spoke? Why are you annoyed that you literally gave us the description of what you wanted and we gave it to you? This isn't past seasons where people have asked for things and we're like, why? Like in the past seasons, I feel like someone would say, I want a man who goes to church every Sunday. And then they'll pair them up with someone who doesn't even know what the outside of a church looks like, let alone the inside. Like that's the type of stuff they were doing before. This time, it's spot on.
I agree.
So David has to be excused, but before was it before he left or when he was sitting there, they got into the conversation of simple.
Yeah, he was still sitting there.
Okay, so this goes back to the person who left that comment saying they thought David was trying to humble. So David, Pia is like, Michelle, why don't you tell David the things that you're struggling with? And she goes that I have tried so hard to leave this life behind and I've worked hard for these things. And now that I have them, to hear them be described as simple, really bothers me because I moved away from simple. And he says, oh, I wasn't thinking of simple in that way. For me, when I say simple, it just means uncomplicated and easy to move around, which her apartment was simple by his definition. And so I'm glad that got cleared up because I could tell David wasn't trying to be harmful to her with using the word simple. But
And it's because she hasn't been, I feel like, as open. How was he supposed to know that she is as sensitive about things like that?
she doesn't even know she's sensitive about things like that. So how can he? You're just learning you. And so how can he know you if you don't even,
And that even further solidifies, I think, the experts not being to blame for this, because Michelle is having big revelations about herself in this process. So if she's just having the revelation, how were they supposed to know?
Yeah. And she just needs to say, like, the things that I asked for weren't the full picture, or there were more things than what I was able to articulate at that time. Like Dr. Pia said, be honest with yourself and be honest with him. So
Yeah.
ultimately, I guess the conclusion was that you don't want to have someone say you need to change. And we said that last week, like, and her friends have always said it. Michelle wants someone who fits into her life. She doesn't want to have to change. You don't have to change. He can go to his bowling and softball and darts. You don't have to come with him. Like, there's room for diversity even within a relationship. But
Yeah,
she don't want to hear it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Nope.
Are we... Who else do we have? Oh,
Camille.
Thomas and Camille.
Yeah. Thomas and Camille finally made some progress.
Someone left a comment that I can agree with. They said maybe things are going so well for Thomas and Camille that was the only thing, so production had to harp on it for a few weeks. Which I think it was a big deal. Like, I don't think that part is exaggerated, but I can understand that we haven't seen all of the positive things that have gone into this relationship that they're building. So just wanted to say I appreciated that comment.
Yeah.
So they come back from flag football. And your boy is hurting.
That 42 is showing.
That 42 came strong. But he said, I was trying to impress you, which I just love them.
I know he's so smitten, and I think that's why people were going hard on Camille, because it's like, girl, this guy is submitting for you. Not that she shouldn't want what
As
she
he
wants,
should.
but I think when you see like, oh, this person is really so into another person, it's like, oh, everyone really wants it to work
For him. Yeah.
and girl, is this what we gonna throw a whole marriage away over?
And
Really?
if she decided to, that is her choice. But
Yeah.
we as the audience don't think you should.
Yeah, she could have, but yeah.
we think keep going in the direction we saw this episode. But I think Camille is funny. So she said something about I felt something behind me and I turned around and I see that it was my husband sacrificing me for the win. And Thomas is like, anything for the win.
Yep.
I love that, like, banter. It was really cute. So he's in pain and she stretches out her husband. I thought it was a very cute interaction that she helped him in his moment of pain. But yeah, they're very cute.
I think it was in that same scene where he talks about how the conversation with her sister was eye-opening for him, because he hadn't focused on the experiences of being a black person being different from men versus
Yes.
women, but he says he's aware now. And I love how he's open to it. It's not like he's being combative about
Yes.
what's being presented to him, and I think that's why I was so motivated. Like, girl, he's open to it. He has the right
Yes.
attitude. You just have to work with him on
But
this.
also, she wouldn't know if he has the right or wrong attitude had all those things not been brought to the forefront.
Hmm.
So I love this moment too. And it just goes to show whatever we're seeing on the show and whatever we're commenting about, again, like it's just a little portion because he's talking about how he feels that she makes him, feel safe
Hmm.
and liked and well taken care of and all, like he's saying that she's made him feel all these things in the last 20 days, and we're on here talking about, oh, we feel like she's putting him down. Clearly there's more to the story than that. And so yeah, anyway, I liked that moment. They both exchanged I like yous, which
Hmm.
was very cute. Yeah.
And she plainly said their differences and their past experiences are not a deal breaker, and it was never my intent to change you. I'm glad that she
I'm glad she said that.
clearly said it, because
Yeah.
whether it was editing or what it was,
Yeah.
it needed to be clearly said that this is not a problem. I'm not looking to change you. And now we can actually move forward. So,
She might be looking to change him a little bit with that jewelry shop visit.
but something he said, and I know editing can be doing its thing. He did say, yeah, I was starting to question if you were really even into me like that. So I agree with what you said, like, oh, we're not seeing the full picture of their relationship. But I do think at least some of what she was doing was saying was leading him down the path to question, well, like, is she into me? Are those differences going to be an issue? Because he clearly said it. So,
Was he saying that? Okay, I might have caught that differently. I thought he was saying that more towards the beginning than now, than these past few conversations.
well, he
But
said
I
it
could
in
have
that
missed
he
it.
said it in that conversation. So if he's saying it at that moment, I kind of take it as she finally said, like, I like you, like, I'm into you. So for him, he's like, oh, it's not a deal breaker, these differences. She just said she likes me. Okay, I was starting to question if you was into me. I like you too. So I take it as a summation of the
Fair.
experiences, not just what was happening early on. That's how I took it. But either way, they're in a good place, and I'm
Thank
gonna need y'all to stay there.
Thanks, B. So Thomas came through with the romance, which I love to see. Camille said, my hubby has this whole setup, rose petals, massage table, his tight t-shirt. I said, not the tight t-shirt.
I will say, I was kind of wishing, I'm like, girl, this is a massage. Come out in a bathing suit. Come out. I'm like, Michelle. I mean, Camille. I think she was in workout clothes. I was like,
Yeah,
girl.
underneath her stuff.
Yeah, I was like, girl, you could at least give him a little bathing suit, something.
I, Not with the cameras there. Have we seen her in a bathing suit or anything
Yeah, she
outside
was
of
on a bathing suit in
exercise
the
gear?
honeymoon and at the pool party.
I- Once we
Yeah.
review these episodes,
Yeah,
I mean, I don't
he
remember like
he's
specifics.
meeting the vibes, but it's a small detail. It's not an
So,
issue.
my man did the Birdman rub with his hands. I said, "Tell me he ain't smooth. Tell me he's not
That's
smooth."
what I'm saying. Like, even before this episode, I'm like, I'm getting vibes that it's there. Maybe he just needed to be put in the right moment. But
Maybe.
but regardless, whatever he did, this girl was buying jewelry by the end of this episode. So
I'm
Camille
weak.
is a very happy woman as of right now.
Oh man. Okay. So Dr. Pia came to visit. And actually, I
Hmm.
think this is the place where Thomas talked about how he's feeling safe and comfortable and
Hmm.
impressed, which was very sweet. So they consummated and bridged that gap. And so because they
Hmm.
consummated out, was wondering where is this conversation going to go? But Dr. Pia asks them about boundaries. So
Hmm.
they talked about boundaries, and then they talked about saying that they love each other and where
Yeah,
they
like what's it
stand.
gonna take?
Yeah.
to get to that
Which
next point. Yeah.
I will say one thing that does concern me about Thomas, which I think he's moved past, but I just, when I hear it, it always hits my ears funny, is how he talks about how he wasn't a good partner
Hmm.
before. And so I'm just always like, okay, you're doing so well. Like you have it in you clearly. And I hope that he sees that he can continue to be a good partner and, that he always strives to be that.
And I saw someone else online saying that because, at least from what we saw, so much talk was on the swag, the race, the cultural identity. Is like, girl, you're not getting deeper in other areas to really maybe get to know him. And maybe they did it off camera, but I like how Dr. Pia steered them like, okay, you've made progress in that point. There's still more progress to be made to even push all past, okay,
Yeah.
now we've consummated the marriage.
Yeah.
But he does seem almost a bit humbled by the
Hmm.
opportunity, and like, yeah, he may be worried, but maybe even more on edge. Like, I really cannot mess this up because what are the
Yes.
chances that I'd be presented an opportunity like this
This
again?
good.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
So,
I love to see women like showered with love and things like that. But it was really sweet to just hear him speak so highly of her. Like I have a
mhm.
really good opportunity and I felt like I didn't deserve another chance. So the fact that I have this wonderful of a chance means a lot. And then Camille talked about how she appreciates their pace,
Mhm.
which I can see like nobody wants to be rushed into anything and then nobody wants to be ready for something and then the other person is just like, so I'm
Mhm.
glad that the pace is working out for the both of them, it seems, and they're heading in the right direction.
Mhm.
They talked a little bit about the boundaries around physical. Thomas was on the after party and he said, Keisha Nightpodium asked him like, okay, we heard what Camille said about boundaries. How about you? And he said, I have more boundaries than she does.
Mhm.
And he was like, let me put it like this. And then he gave a football example.
Mhm.
I don't know football, but he said something about I'm the quarterback, not the linebacker.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. So football people get that. I could put two and two together and
Yeah.
understand. But and then he's also not as interested in having certain things used on him
Okay.
like what she described. Yeah. But
Okay.
anyway, why did they play the song Swag It Out when they went jewelry shop?
Now, Camille, we told you last week we don't want you to say swag no more.
The two foot. Did she say swag or did Lifetime just play that
No,
song?
she said something about, when he was put trying on the gold chain, she was like, oh yeah, the swag's been turned up. I wrote it
Yeah.
down.
She
She
said,
said
I
it.
definitely like how he looks in jewelry, which, I mean, it is a nice look on him.
Yeah, he looks good. Yeah,
Yeah.
I thought he looked good before. Girl, whatever it is you feel like you need and he's open to it, run with it.
Go for
I
it. But
love that it's
also,
working
I
out for him.
enjoyed seeing him thinking he felt good, like thinking he looked good.
Hmm.
Like you could, and she even made a comment like, "Oh, his shoulders were a little loose." He was feeling himself, and you could tell that he was. And so I enjoyed that moment for him. Like I understand, Camille took him, and it was for whatever. But I enjoyed watching him in that moment and seeing him see another side of himself that he seemed to enjoy. So that was
Yeah.
really cool.
Yep. She likes what she sees. He's into it. She said,
They
baby,
liked
it's
it.
on me today.
Okay, she said, I can't get you that chain, but I got your earrings. The way I would have got him some cubic zirconia, she's
Ooh,
invested.
that's what I'm saying. Whatever happened,
She's
clearly.
invested.
She
But
said,
no,
this is my
it's nice
man.
to see a couple's love story come together on this show after so many seasons of failure.
Hmm. So yeah, Thomas and Camille, we're rooting for y'all.
Rooting for y'all.
And Thomas has clearly showed that he has swag now.
Jasmine, comedian Jasmine W. Sometimes I watch her reviews after hours, and she was saying after we do hours, and she was like, Thomas, I had your back this whole time, but if y'all get in that room and you don't you don't put it down like Brandy said, I I don't know what to tell you. I can't do nothing for you at that point. So it seems like he delivered and they're good.
They're good.
So
Yeah.
great for them. Now, let's turn to Aichi and M. I need to take a sip of water.
We both do.
Water.
Because I need to reset my emotions before we dive into this.
This was a lot. Okay. So
Well, first let's start on something very positive. And Mim looked beautiful. I'm skipping ahead, but I want to talk about how she looked in the black and white with the red lipstick.
red lip. I can't. Red lipstick.
And Mim looked gorgeous. So her outfit was so cute.
Yeah.
I just wanted to start on a positive note before we.
Yeah, she's very well put together. So the episode starts with her meeting with her friend. And, one friend was saying, why wouldn't he want someone who's direct with him? And why is he saying this whole we don't know each other? I don't know. I guess MM, I don't even want to say she came on strong with him because it seems like he was matching her energy.
Yeah, he wants to play revisionist history because, okay, the wedding was the wedding, but then from being en route on the honeymoon and the honeymoon, remember, y'all were couples goals on the honeymoon. So I can't even say she was coming on strong. She was like, oh, well, my husband, I'm married. Yes. But he seemed to get on board with that energy during the honeymoon.
And it's just, it sucks because you don't want to come in playing the game, but it's almost like, dang, she probably should have come in playing the game a little more because of who she's paired up with. And that's maybe a telltale sign that you're not with your right person if you have to keep playing the game. You can't just be 100% yourself and they're accepting of it.
I know.
Okay. So then after the friends, did you want to say anything about what the friends say? Listen.
Not really, because they just recapped what was said at the housewarming party, and Chrissy, the friend, was there. And so in this confessional scene, though, and Mim is talking to her phone, and she was saying that apparently they go to have dinner, and I guess she was asking him a question about...
What did you do to prepare for marriage?
Yeah, what did you do to prepare for marriage? And that sends him off the deep end. We don't have footage of it, but it was enough to where she's like, hey, we just need to get our stuff and leave.
Yeah.
I wish she would have elaborated on what was said. Like, what did he say, even in his voice being raised? Did you catch what he said? But we didn't get that. Not that it mattered too much, but I wanted to know.
That. And I don't know, raising a voice at a restaurant with people looking, that's embarrassing. I don't ever want to be in that type of situation, especially with with adults. And if anybody's, go ahead.
Because of the question too, like you're set off that easily because someone asked you, well, what did you do to prepare for marriage?
Well, apparently that wasn't why. So Mem calls for the meeting with Dr. Pia. Dr. Pia comes through. It's her and it's a Mem, and they're sitting there, and then Ikechi comes.
Attitude and all.
He came in so serious, and he's like, oh yeah, it's been a long day. It's been a long day. I'm sure it's been a long day for everybody, by the way, but if there's one thing that I hate, it's a moody man. like where you don't even know what energy you're receiving from them. Like, why are you acting like this?
Be consistent in your energy. Leave it to us to go up and down and around and around. Both of us can't be doing it.
Right. I don't even like moody people in general, but if you're a moody man, get it together. I'm sorry. Because it just... Anyway. So he comes in, and it's not even just being moody because we're all human, but it's like consistently moody. Like the only thing that's sure about your mood is that it's constantly changing and not in a positive way. That is what I hate.
And just his energy towards Dr. Pia before she even got started was so rude. Do you not have any respect for her? Come on. Whew.
He is. I know we all overly use this word, but it gave gaslighter energy. So he comes in attitude, and I know if this is what we're seeing on camera, a man must be seeing other like more of it. Comes in and he sits down, maybe a chair or two over, and Dr. Pia goes, "Oh, you don't want to sit next to your wife, or you're choosing not to sit next to your wife?" And he said, "I'm choosing to have a seat." Right, not next to your wife. Like what is going on? And so he clearly doesn't like being asked questions at all, because that was a question Dr. Pia asked and he reacted. And so even she's like, "What's with the attitude? Like, what's
Yeah.
up?"
He can't answer.
He said it's been a long day. He's tired, really, really tired. And this is where Dr. Pia is a professional, because she's like, I understand, and, we're all tired, but let's try to do our best to move through this. And so, she asks him, what helps what helps when you've had a heavy day like today? Like, how do you treat yourself after a heavy day? He says, rest, relaxation, and conversations with people who pick him up.
So your wife.
Dr. P is like, is that a mem? He said, has not been. He's so sassy.
He
Has
could
not been.
he
Ain't been
couldn't
her.
wait.
Ain't gonna be her.
He couldn't wait to say it.
He couldn't wait. Why are you so
Sassy.
sassy?
Just and when I tell you Mim has the level of control of a saint.
I would have been cut. I would have been talking all up and through. I wouldn't have been able to help it, but to like maintain her composure the way that she did, give her an award. That's the first award she deserves, because there are more. She's about to have an EGOT by the end of this season. But first award for maintaining her composure. And then they start to have this conversation where he's like, can I just enjoy you? Which I wish he was more specific about the whole enjoy you thing. On the after party, he was a little more specific, but I'll tell you, please remind me to tell you what he said there. But this whole idea of can I just enjoy you, in my opinion, no. You can't just enjoy me, because you don't get to enjoy me if there's no future here. And I think that's what it seems like a mem is trying to get to. Like, is there a future here? Because if there's no future here, you don't get to suck all my positive energy, use it to replenish yourself. I'm the pick me up. I'm the person who you're talking to after you've had a heavy day. Like, that should be reserved for someone who has more permanent plans with me. I don't want to exhaust myself trying to be a pick me up for somebody who doesn't have long-term intentions with me.
I agree. And Dr. Pia said, because he was talking about, oh, every time I'm around her, it's always a bunch of questions. And she said, well, wouldn't these questions help in y'all getting to know each other? He's like, not in this case.
Yeah.
What do you mean?
So what kind of special case is this that asking questions won't help? So on the after party, he said something like, for me, it's like, oh, I like to go out to concerts, go out to this, go out to that. It's like, go out to comedy shows. Take me to see a comedy show. Like, I want to show you, not tell you who I am. Take me to see a comedian. And I'm like, oh, hold on. So you know what it takes for you to get to know somebody. You go to sleep at 9 p.m. You don't seem to spend a lot of time with this person. If you know what it is that you need to progress, why aren't you saying, hey, I booked us something to go see a comedy show. Hey, there's a concert at the City Winery. Why don't we go to it? Why does she have to initiate that? Especially now that initiation, we've heard, is a little bit of an issue for y'all.
in so many words, he's saying he wants to be courted.
Thank you. That's exactly what I thought when I heard it.
Oh, you got it, big boss. Court me. Date me.
Pick me, choose me. I don't know if you watch Grey's Anatomy, but yeah, it's like you can't. Anyway, so I understand where he's coming from though with the I don't want to talk all the time, have these long I mean, I do like to have the long and deep conversations, but yeah, that can't be every time. If you see that's the energy she's bringing, why not try to balance it out? Or have a conversation like, "Listen, I understand these long conversations are what you need to feel secure in this relationship and where it's going and to enjoy this experience. For me, what I need is that we go out and do these things. So maybe we set aside time every Wednesday at this time. We'll have the more serious conversations and spend time together that way. And then Friday, we'll go out and do the things that I like to do. Like, there are ways around that if you want to try, but you just don't want to.
But he's talking backwards because didn't he tell the cousin, Refu, that he's boring?
Yep.
So he's talking in circles. It doesn't make sense. He literally told the cousin, "Oh well, I'm boring." He was like, "Oh well, haven't you taken her out? Haven't you gone on dates?" No, I'm boring. So
He's
it's
just anti anything positive. He's not good vibes.
and I think he's bothered by the fact of Imim not just asking the questions because let's be real, it's an 8-week process. Y'all are still working in this process. So you're supposed to decide in 8 weeks if you're going to stay married to a person. You don't have that much time. So she's smart in trying to have fun, but get under the surface to make sure that you're using your time
Yeah.
wisely. But
Yeah.
he's bothered that the questions that she's asking him are going to expose him. That's why he's so bothered by it. It's not even just that he's not into her, it's that she's going to blow my cover. Because I don't know if we want to jump ahead. I don't know. I'll save that. I'll save it.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll save it. But
Okay.
he's bothered that the more questions she asks, the more he's going to be seen for him not being here for genuine reasons and is getting under his skin. So,
I agree. And so, he talks about this whole can I just enjoy you? I want something fun and enjoyable. And Dr. Pia asks him to prescribe. Like, what do you think needs to happen? He's like, I don't know. I'm here to be fixed. And she shut that thing down immediately. She said, okay, I know you don't think you're here to be fixed. Being a passive aggressive is not helpful. Can we just agree that we're going to get through this without being passive aggressive and make sure that we're respectful? And he says, yes, ma'am. I just don't like him. His energy is too, I don't even have the words to describe his energy at this point. It's just too much
it is too much.
unnecessarily.
It is too much. And it
Yeah.
just goes to show how he was able to put on a pretty good act to get chosen to be on the show. I know he wasn't acting this way with Dr. Pia in the interview process.
No, it could also be that it's Dr. Pia and not like a Pastor Cal. Would he be that snappy with Pastor Cal? He was all jovial and jokey when Pastor Cal was in the room. What do y'all have against rest? What do y'all have? No, but you're not giving that energy today when it's just Dr. Pia. So yeah, I didn't like that one bit. All right. So then it gets serious. And this I really wanted to hear because if he has been feeling this way, nobody should be feeling pressured. Man, woman, whatever. You should not be feeling pressured. And so he expresses that he has asked her not to make these physical advances, but then after some time, she'll make them again. And he feels like she's always up on him or wanting him. Dr. Pia says, and he addresses this on the after party, but Dr. Pia says, so you feel like she's violating your consent. And he said, that's what I said. So on the after party, he goes, well, I didn't say that. I just agreed. Okay, so let's take it back to junior high school. When you agree with something, that's your way of co-signing it. So it's like you are saying it, Ike.
Yeah.
So, yeah, and I think Mem is such a classy person because in this moment, she could have had an attitude, but she seems so sincere that she's like, I don't want to ever violate somebody's boundaries around physical. And so she really received what he said. And I'm like, she is a better person than most.
And to take one step back, I agree with
Mm-hmm.
you. She is better than most. Once again, showing so much composure and control. But I wish he would have elaborated on, well, what exactly is she doing? Because I think when you're in a situation of, hey, we don't want to be intimate fully, so does that mean no physical contact, no hugs, no kisses? Because specifically, Imem, I get if we go back, he says that Imem asked him, well, do you want me in regards to sex?
Mm-hmm.
So it sounds as though she made an advance. He rejected her. The follow up was like, okay, well, at least confirm to me, are you even interested in me physically? And
Mm-hmm.
he told her, no, I want to get to know you on a deeper level, yada, yada, yada. Um, he says that she got an attitude, I guess, because he had called her aggressive and, uh,
No, he said after he turned her down, she started acting funny with him.
oh, yeah, you're right.
And yeah, and that bothered me because I felt like there was a disconnect there where he was assigning, oh, she's acting differently because of the physical thing. But then he said something about how when he brought it up to her, she was saying it was about the aggressive
Aggressive
comment.
comment. Right.
So it's like, no, she wasn't acting funny about the physical thing. You called her aggressive.
And so, what it sounds like to me, what happened, if I was to lay things out,
Mm-hmm.
they have their wedding day on the honeymoon. She says, on their way there, we saw them lovey dovey, all
Mm-hmm.
hugged up. He moved her hand to his private area to say, like, oh, like, hey, I'm interested in moving things forward physically.
Mm-hmm.
She said, bet you're my husband. They're in agreement, but not
Yeah.
moving forward physically. They make it back home. She's still on that energy, pursues or tries to initiate. He
Mm-hmm.
turns her down. It doesn't sound like Emim kept pursuing him physically, like to move things forward. It
He
sounds
said
as
he felt pressured, so I just took him at face value, but I agree.
so, but that's what I'm collecting. In that just because you don't want to have sex, because he specifically said I don't want to do things on that level until we get to know each other more. Does that mean no physical contact? Does that mean no hugs, no kisses, no nothing? And he didn't refute what she said.
Mm-hmm.
So I
About the
wasn't getting that
yeah.
there was this consistent trying. And then, but we don't know. Regardless, and Mem said, I'll respect your boundaries
As
going
she and
forward.
as she
As she
should, because
should.
again, nobody should be feeling pressured for anything physical in any way. I think had he communicated those things clearly to her, it seems like she would have been receptive. And I'm glad that he was like, well, we spoke about these things in private, so I don't want to bring them out. And she said, no, there's nothing, share it all. Put it all out there on the table because otherwise she
Hmm.
would not have known that he was feeling pressured. And so, yeah, because it has something to do with consent and physical boundaries, I'm like, I'm really glad Mem responded the way that she did. And I do see that there were mixed signals, but I don't want anybody, as far as their body goes, to
Hmm.
feel like they are obligated.
And I think what amplifies this is that he doubled down on the aggressive
Aggressive
comment.
comment,
And
right?
so he says, oh, I feel like I'm a piece of meat in the house after I already told her no. And her face just gave like, huh? Total confusion.
He's very dangerous. But again, dangerous or not, he shouldn't feel like his physical boundaries are being violated. And so I appreciated her handling it as flawlessly as she did, and I admire her. She apologized, and there was no, like, when she was saying she changed it and said that because you just told me you feel uncomfortable. And so, ma'am, I wish the people in our society who are usually sexual aggressors will listen to and watch your model. And thank you so much for being a great example of backing up when someone says that they feel uncomfortable.
I agree. And he also goes on to talk about how I'm from the South, don't be. And, I'm not used to someone coming on to me and trying to have sex that don't know me. Stop speaking for people from the South. Please. Please.
I think it's so.
I speak for the South in saying you need to stop speaking for people from the South.
Okay, so he goes to her job. Apparently, they haven't really been talking to each other. Oh my God. The fact that she was even willing to continue to try at this with him after that, I'm like, because you wouldn't have had to hear about me. I would have been back at my nice apartment.
And I think what it is, it's not even just that, okay, you're not into her. No, you're going a next step in trying to assassinate her character and I feel like her image at this point. I feel like he's coming for blood.
I would be very careful with him. We have to wait 2 more weeks because, we have the holidays. But it should be an interesting first episode of January, y'all. Did y'all catch the previews? I think it's going to be explosive. We're just at the 1 month mark. I don't know. But I do like how this season is progressing and it doesn't feel like we drag things out.
Yeah.
Okay, so he comes to her job. They hadn't been talking since they met with Dr. Pia. He says that he wasn't trying to embarrass her, which, okay. I don't think he was trying to embarrass her in that moment. He did say, we talked about it in private, so we can keep it in private. But I just have problems thinking he's genuine at all. And in that conversation, she says, I don't know how to move forward, so I'm depending on you to lead and direct. Since you're a leader, you told my cousin you can lead. Anything that happens from here on out is going to have to be you. And that she's right about that.
And that's exactly how it should be.
That's how it should be.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Mm-hmm. That's all I have.
Yeah.
For them. You guys let us know what you thought. Make sure you subscribe, especially if we're at this point and you're not subscribed. Make sure you subscribe and like this video. And we will see you guys in the new year. Have a safe holiday season, whatever holiday or holidays you might celebrate. We hope that it all goes well for you, and we'll see y'all in the new year. Bye.
Bye.